I just had like a little walk and talk to myself about all this, how it all started. You know, this is myself. No, it started in 1990 in Moscow, 33 years ago, more than 33 years ago in Moscow. It's where British royals got on the picture with American politicians, with all sorts of people you possibly not you possibly could not even imagine post-Soviet states such as Russia had a contact, you know, with. I pursued through my entire life views of Western world. I was born 51 years ago, actually 52 years ago, 1971, in a republic, Slovenia. It used to be part of Yugoslavia, next to several other republics. Just as you would say Poland was, actually just as you would say Ukraine was to Soviet Union or Belarus. Poland, not exactly. Poland was just a part of the Warsaw Pact, basically occupied by the Soviet Union. Hungary, Czechoslovakia likewise. A somewhat very similar situation. And the situation that made me, due to environment, due to human interaction in one foremost, feel is very, very much unwanted. Very much as I felt that it's just it felt not good to be part of something like this, because it's like I truly felt like it was an occupation. Really, I didn't see myself in it, and people, as much as they try to ignore that feeling and have celebrated something that country was basically funded upon after World War II, finally uh, no longer is a kingdom, but uh, as a state, as a republic, as a many wish to say, for me right now to say a communist state. That's what they gave me the idea to view the whole thing as, but this is not true. In the US, that's what they would want me as a communist state, always a communist state. Your choice, such as socialist, doesn't appeal to Americans. It's a communist. It's a communist. It's always was, so therefore a communist. Okay, Tito communist, communist state. British always also the same thing. Communist always is a communist. Um, if it would have been a communist state, I would not even have a problem with it, because my problem was concentrated on difference between people within this republic. The Serbian majority was the problem for everybody in this Yugoslavia. I don't have to go and say why, how. You can see the example in the Soviet Union. Exactly identical was the problem for minorities, you could say, or other republics, if you'd say. Uh, the same thing was a Russian majority. When you don't see yourself due to your size in a smaller party, um, it's not a federation anymore. It's more of an occupation, basically, and people feel it. Smaller nation feel that upon themselves. It's really a curse. It's not. Uh, it's not a celebration. Let's just put it this way, right? So there was a lot of economical stuff also that went on, all kinds of issues that made impact on me when comparing. I felt that country was greatly lagging behind technologically and just even having something that you would want, that you would wish for, let's say, and you would finally get that. That costed a lot of money, let's say. Um, no longer made me happy, basically. Realizing that there was a whole lot of money stolen in ways from me that, deprived, stolen, that otherwise should never be the case. I didn't see myself within this society in absolutely any way because I knew that society was doing stuff that is just a dead end, and for that matter, I have decided, I would toss away absolutely everything, you know, anything I would have. And it's actually something I even did. Made me extremely unhappy. Uh, so much unhappy that I decided, even once Slovenia gained its independence, we'll leave this country, this little country, which at a time, if I would stay inside, it would be completely indifferent. Actually, I felt worse than even maybe what Yugoslavia was, because the politicians that the system should, in fact, eject, there was no future for me in it. Okay, so pursuing the Western values, supporting European Union, the United States of America, democracy, um, trade, economy, freedom, it was no stay for me here in Slovenia. You know, a police officer uh, investigator uh, watched my watch, which I had purchased before leaving to the US, and realized that this watch was. He spoke to a local watchman. It's a Casio watch, and he realized that this watch was just purchased. And if you look at it, the band is bent, and um, it's scratched because of the use. But truly, I mistreated the watch. It's not. It shouldn't be. It should never be like this. Really. Beautiful watch, Casio. Milan Kuchon even used this watch with the idea that he would appeal to Japanese, that I am something wrong with me, mentally disturbed. And so destroying me things, the watches and everything, was to be actually apologized even through this watch. The police took initiative that they would destroy me, everything. That's what they say. That's how they're gonna apologize because of what they saw I have done to my own watch before I left the United States of America. Except that this is my property, this is my watch, and the rest, I don't owe anybody any kind of explanation why I have done this to my property. Why I have done this to my property? Since this is here, because I couldn't get job in Slovenia. I traveled to Austria, tried to bail myself out of this shithole, where psychiatrists, after I completed education for a certified mechanic, mechanical engineering technician as a second profession, couldn't get their fingers on me, started to stalk me, harass me, bully me. Jobs nowhere to be found, no future, no nothing. So one day in my room, I was looking at it, and it was really fine watch, and I wanted. And I started to twinkle this, you know, and I said to myself, I didn't go and smash this down or something like this, but I wanted to have a mark because it's nice watch. I wanted to remember that this is just something that's worth money. I was really young back then. I don't know, age maybe 22. I came to realize that if I'm going to stay here, I am not going to make it in life. I came to realize that these things are not going to do for me. I came to realize that I don't have anything. I came to realize that system is cheating your life. I came to realize that I better toss this away and get any kind of job anywhere as far as I possibly can for whatever cost might be. And that was a job in the United States of America as far as I possibly could get because Austria is just next door where this KGB, when you turn the radio on and it was like KGB, KGB, or Stasi, KGB, and all that stuff. That's how it used to be back in the day. I know that younger generations probably don't know what maybe I'm even talking about. Times change, or maybe they do because they see now what's happening across the Eastern Europe in respect to Ukraine. Well, it was like this everywhere. And so I, at one point in time, I didn't like this watch anymore. Even this, I'm going to tell you, even it's a beautiful watch. The idea about something I wanted so much changed in my head. It changed in my head because the whole picture became dark. I wanted to change in my life. I didn't want to stuck in a small room with a little watch. I don't want to become a slave for one. This watch was, the cost for this watch This watch cost me like it costed me back then like I think it was like about 18 euros or something like this. But the medical examination where they rated me as insane and they wouldn't even give me there were two medical examinations, yeah. One was upon completion of the military service, a medical examination I had to pay out of my own pocket, 50 euros, 50 was just decided that because of my hearing, I can't be a professional soldier. It was a hearing and it was a vision, but I heard that that was actually not even a decisive factor. And then it was another medical examination. This is all shit I had to pay out of my own pocket. And the pay at the local here private company friend of my father, Chertalich, was like $100 per month. And for at least like 60 hours of work too. And money was even stolen from state, which sponsored newly funded basically young people so they could get a practical work training and stuff like this, you know. And it was more of a labor work and stuff like this than a training sophistication and like that, according to professionals, something like this. Exploitation, really, theft. I came to realize that this is very, very expensive watch. This fucking watch, I said to myself, when considering how much money the state have stolen me through employment, through examinations that for which they told me even that if you're going to go to United States of America, you're going to be rated as insane. I had to go to Salzburg, to Austria. Actually, Salzburg, Linz, a minute, Salzburg. It probably was at Salzburg, right. To complete the examination for overseas work. Well, it was a short thing. I went inside, talked to these physicians, had to undress myself. They checked me out. The same thing as in here in the hospital. And they just asked me basically politely how would I like this and that, what if there's anything else I can do. And it was just really a matter of a pleasant formality. The same thing like at the U.S. Embassy and so on. It was all different, right? It wasn't like police came here at home and death threatened me. With the physicians inside of the hospital during examination, that I would be rated as insane if I would leave the United States. It was none of that kind of stuff. And so I came to realize if this police officer who investigator, and it was not only one, all of them couldn't understand what happened to the watch. Because they forgot they came here inside of the garage to death threaten before I left the United States of America. It seems like they have a fucking shortcut. And yes, it's a Casio, it's Japan. It's, I think, even made in Japan. This is all probably Japan made, yeah. I said, fuck this. I said, it's nice, everything, all this, but I need change. It's enough of this. This video is not about watch. This video is not about. It's about a people from Slovenia who told me, people from Slovenia foremost, because they knew more about me than anybody else. They just, of course, I grew up here, but it was a lot of people that inquire about who the hell is this guy? What's his background is. What is this? I mean, and so it was a lot of people who stated me that they wanted a sincere, genuine opinion about the world of royals, elites. What is it like? What the West is like? What this royalism? What this is about? Yeah, but this is not about genuinity. This is not genuine. This is not. I saw this word here, and that's why I think it should be of your genuineness, genuineness. Yeah.
Genuineness.
What?
Genuineness. Genuineness.
Genuineness. Okay, genuineness, sincerity. I found this here, sincerity. No, this is not what this is about. This is not a neutral thing, is what I'm trying to say. You understand? This is not an opinion. This is not. They knew it's not going to be opinion. You know, this is not about good faith. This is not about truthfulness, about the honesty, trustworthiness, or seriousness, or earnestness, openness, or something like this. No, 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 no. This would be a big thing. This is what everybody would want, wouldn't you? If you would be, I said to myself earlier, I didn't have anybody I would take advice about royal people, who these people are. I can say I had no mom, I had no dad, I had no people that would come inside of the house so that I could speak to, so that I could communicate with, so that they would pass on to me their knowledge or something like this, in that sense. I didn't have anybody that would give me a fucking advice that would say anything on who exactly the hell I am dealing with. It was just based on a pure intuition on my end. And this was not about a truthfulness. That's why you should worry about this stuff. That's what makes this thing tricky. Complicated for some people. This is actually about someone that was going way beyond this genuinity, sincerity, truthfulness. This is about somebody who was taking their side. This is about somebody who was taking the side of Toto Cutugno. This was about somebody who was actually cheering NATO, who fought for this little country to become NATO. Not only for this little country, but in Moscow for Ukraine, for people of Ukraine to have a freedom of choice, to become part of the society where they could freely travel and exchange and not only ideas, but socially level their experience with people from other parts of Europe, job-wise, economically-wise, friendship-wise, relationship-wise. Part of become part of the world that they would make their own decisions for themselves, like every other country in Eastern Europe. That's what this shit was about. This was about somebody who pushed forward idea, not only about European Union, but even more than about European Union, about the NATO. This was about somebody who had opposed to people who regarded themselves as supporters of the communism, like Milan Kučan, here in Slovenia, Drnovšek, Borut Pahor, Tanja Fajon, still on the stage. in Russia, Vladimir Putin, and so on. I don't want to call these people out. You already know if you go over. I am saying this not because I would have a problem with the communism. See, this is where things you need to pay attention to this stuff because whatever you are, you're facing exactly the same issue. And from your state propaganda, you're not going to learn anything. In a best case scenario, you're going to be just like myself. In the worst case scenario, if you get into the situation like I did, most likely you would end up even worse than I did. And that's not fun. That's why you need to pay attention to what I say. And the problem is not in a communism, I told you earlier. If we would have a communism, you have a communism, have a communism. So what, I mean, the communism is society where uh, you're just part of the, maybe it's a funky society, maybe it's like not cool if you have better performance or you have um, you work harder, whatever it is, and you just do them bad. You just have to share whatever you make. Still, you have to uh, theoretically, basically, how it all was viewed. You would have to share it with people that do not. Even maybe with the people that, like, if you went to the school and there was some kids that would not attend always, I would say in Slovenia, PUK classes. They would take some time off and so on. Like maybe then later in life, that could have become like a workers' tool that had maybe called too often or whatever. But you just couldn't get rid of them because it's society that's built like this. That's your worker, no matter what. And at the end of the month, you have to pay him, like it or not. As a boss as you are working for a state company, that's all you got to do. Just as the guy that does a little extra and he doesn't get to see any. This is about communism. This would be a communism like trouble. But in Yugoslavia, it was different. In Russia, it was different. It was about issues that I told you earlier. It was about some dark shadow basically hanging over you and looking at you everywhere the fuck you go. It's like bad luck stalking you around and is systematically sealing your fate parallel to time. No, the older you get, the less lucky you are with everything in life because it's just basically squeezing you till you perish according to statistics. This is reality I'm talking to you about right now. Maybe in many ways is even similar to certain views in a Western society. I don't know. And it doesn't matter right now. That's why I don't want to know. I want to concentrate on this issue. But this is not against the communism in absolutely any way. If we had a communism, if that would be the only thing, I would hang around. I would survive. But boy, when everything you do is just turning into the dust, and you know that the watch was not $15, but maybe $1,500 according to the standards that I stated. Like the fucking car that was considered a low-end car like 50 years ago in Italy, and it's still being produced in your country, and you have to work like 5, 6 years to get yourself one. And then it's worse. Then it's the factor that I stated earlier. It's just somebody else from somewhere else that is timing you, basically. That's too bad. That's where the real problem is. Casio can't keep me in a place like that. There's no watch that can keep me in a place like that. And I love Casio, by the way, more than any other brand. This really was more than about genuineness, sincerity, truthfulness. This was about that little radio that you turned on and you listened to your state propaganda about, I'm going to refer to that as again as a communist, a communism, um, basically the old enemy of royalism, if you want, or an old enemy the royals would call out of a capitalism, the old enemy of everything that the West stood for. So I was not the one who associated with such people, not because of, again, I'm going to accent to you, because of the communism, but because of those other issues. Because it was something else that went on that finally exploded into war in Yugoslavia, into a massacre, like they say in Ukraine, in the big Balkan War, in a barrel of well, smoke. In countries where royals rule, there is homeless people under the bridges. It's homeless people everywhere. I always like the British people the most, probably that the polite, as far as the politeness, kindness, for what I know, because of the World War II, they would throw the, you know, uh, military aid, they would throw from the planes, with Americans, food, um, they would have just a completely different, um, like upgraded, like scale of life, kind of unusual rather when compared to maybe this part of the world, maybe because it was so badly hit with this World War II. But it was really positive to see all those jeeps and American these cars and you know cigars and chocolates and goodies, Red Cross and all that stuff. Something really, really, really inspirational for the people. And I don't give a shit. I think even that Tito and Stalin like that fact that that those packages were coming and that there is somewhere and it's from some part of the world that is just uh, despite it wasn't easy for British during the World War II, I'm sure, nor for Americans because they had to pay the bills still. They were not affected directly so much with the war like continental Europe as for Britain. But um, I think that it was a morale that lifted French and even Germans that were defeated. It was not the end of the world, when they lost the war, even that it was a bad defeat, which there was nothing they possibly could expect from. Uh, Other almost that we would say like, now we're fucked, basically slavery for what we did. That's how I would feel, and I'm sure a lot of Germans did too. If you would go and rate British, you probably, I imagine at least, you would find yourself encircled with the politeness, with um, I think even sincerity, uh, virtues. This is what's in my head. This is basically you're talking about like I earlier stated. I didn't have anybody. I grew up like a cat, basically on a somewhere in an attic area or something like this. All I knew was from the books and so on. And that again, this is why people told me during MK Ultra, we're gonna value your input, the information and your view on it, how you see this, really what how you. That's why it's very important also for us to, I suppose, something I was not looking forward to, but this really is not about sincerity. It's not about a truthfulness. This really is something about experience from someone. I was a warrior. I was not a supporter of this European Union, NATO values, if you like. A fanatic? No, I never was fanatic about anything. I was just minding my own business, basically. Understood pretty much how it all functions, basically. And I understood, I learned more about all how it all functions thanks to the people like Putin, thanks to the people like Milan Kuchan, because those are the people that tutored me, this old apparatchiks, this old KGBs, whatever you want to say. They tutored me that, you know, I don't have the right to think about a good car. I don't have the right to think about a good job, a good pay. It was not good. It was not right to drive Mercedes. It was not right to own a good watch. It was not right to have Nike. It was not right to have Levi's. The world is to remain like a black and white TV. Only in that scope, everything could possibly be okay. I learned from them, they were my teachers, to reject more and more. The more they push down, the more rebellion was coming to life in me. Till absolutely everything they said was just no fucking good to me. Just like this. So I did become a little bit radical during MK Ultra. Too much radical. Everything started to bother me about them. Just like I bothered them. Just like everything about me bothered them, they started to bother me. Everything. They had it started to bother me. That's basically how I viewed life as. I viewed life as something that you, and I believe every one of you should. That if you have to, then you have to even enforce just like this. When somebody is saying to you that you don't have the right to something that you work for, you so that you can remain a part of the society, I think you have to enforce your way through with a complete non-compliance. I think you have to take extra then an action to claim for the dignity's sake more than what you asked for. That's basically a law like this. Nobody has the right to. The worst theft is the idea. If you steal somebody money, it's a money. But if you steal from somebody his ideals, his vision, you kill the person. It's a very serious issue, actually. Soon, just for me to learn that I found myself defending these values completely by myself. And the people who view themselves in it at the beginning actually collaborated with that other side to make me more radical, to oppose more. And just as I stated earlier, I became a warrior, a soldier. And the biggest mistake I've made, a soldier of NATO, a soldier of European Union, a soldier of United States of America. The biggest mistake I've made is that I allowed myself, I made a lot of mistakes, but the biggest mistake of them all was that I allowed myself the people whom I have advocated as societies whose principles and values supposedly existed. I even doubt these days about the whole thing. I advocated. That was the biggest mistake because I had mistaken an enemy with a friend. I'm trying to say to you, if you listen to Reagan, if you listen to the Nixon, you're gonna say it doesn't get more like hardline Republican than these people, right? Pro-American, if you want, pro-NATO, capitalism and monarchism. Like I said, I didn't have any clue what that was. But boy, when you find yourself under the rug with people even like this defending you alone, even against them, the Ukrainian right, after all, to keep nuclear weapons rather than give them back to the Soviet Union, as was the case till 1994. then you know that you have gone with all these friends that they also help you to get. Um, you know that you're in a wrong circle of people, basically. All right. But that's a circle of people, and this is not what this video is not dedicated to the royals or a top upper class, if you like. This is dedicated to you, to average viewer. This is a video about issues, as I stated earlier: genuinity, sincerity, truthfulness, earnestness, whatever you want. You know, no, 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 no. The problem is this was more than about average, maybe you. This was more than about if I was born in Holland or UK or Germany or whatever, and I would just go about my own business, work, and come back and pay bills and so on, and basically do whatever I am required to remain a part of the society per basically per the well for the royal agenda, right? If it's a country that is royal, now that should have been like a top hat of the state, basically. But this is definitely not about someone, their radios, their TV preached against. Someone as to Americans would regard as a communist. I hope this was educational video for you from a completely different perspective, uh, for you to understand that there are greater evils in this world than communism. There are much bigger evil in this world that exists than a communism. This is not also a video against the communism or anything like this. As I stated, the state books do not explain everything. If you want to grow, then you have to participate, view reality from a certain perspective that way too often, unfortunately, because I realized I was not the only one who got ran over by these royals. It was more people like this in Britain that will come to me and say, "Hey, sir, you know, they haven't done this only to you; they've done to other people. You know, they're gonna do this and this to you, you know, and so on." And it was the same thing in other parts of the world. It was kind of a strange picture, boy, that I refuse to believe. This isn't about sincerity, genuinity, truthfulness, whatever the fuck. This is about my turning back blatantly to what was already obvious, and with parallel to time as it had passed, it became completely unhidden from the point of view from the British royals, from the royals, British royals foremost. You know, they started with bad stuff already, and you know, early on, like in '93. But it was always like, was it maybe that I was guilty deliberately? That I did pay a blind spot to that? Yes, yes, it was because, like I said, this was about somebody who went to work. Whether I went to work or whether it was at Ultra, I wanted to be professional at whatever the hell I was doing. I wanted to get ahead in life only, as Mr. Narendra Modi from India stated me, Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, if you're going to stay long enough around these people, there'll be windows of opportunities that's going to open for you too. And so my goal was to stay around them for as long as possible and make good contacts with them and develop out of that, just like every one of you would do. a possibility for yourself, opportunity. Especially because Mr. Narendra Modi stated to me, we all started like this. And I don't even doubt Mr. Narendra Modi. I don't doubt him. He always was reserved and was trying to keep me back and warn me to be careful. And I was pretty damn sure that around people like this, like, when American presidents tell you, yeah, he's going to be fine, don't worry about it, it's going to be over anytime before you know. And you have people like British royals, Charles, and I'm Prince such and such and shit. What can possibly be wrong about that stuff? You can get really nothing to worry with the friends like this. Are you kidding me? Well, as a result of what I have gone through, I could possibly not see myself as a I could not see myself in a mirror, excuse me, as somebody that would associate with any of these people. I don't think I could take it. It would leave me. It would psychologically would affect me. Stuff like this because of obvious. I don't think that these people are productive in absolutely any way. I am not trying to court British. I am not trying to court. It appeared to me that Dutch, Norwegians, Swedes, Spaniards, it appeared to me that they were like way more polite, way more civilized, talking about the royal power of the world. But it became evident, Danish and all this, that these people somehow work together, you know, because I didn't go from like liking these people into the mode that you just like all of a sudden like, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, or something like that. It was just through revelations, experience, once I opened my mindset to what exactly went on, that it was more and more bad experience that became evident. It was more and more lies which British royals during MKO did not even want to hide. They actually give you a signs, a signals, so that you would be disgusted with them as much as possible because they want you to hate them. They are haters. They survive on a pure hatred, which they manage to instill in people. And so I came to realize that these people are somehow connected. And, you know, as much as I was trying to view this as a, just as a British thing, it was becoming to me more and more evident that it's exactly the same thing that was happening with the British royals. At first, for a very long time, I didn't want to see the stuff they did to me. You don't want to see. You just turn. You do a blind corner. You turn back. Your back to yourself. Basically, you don't want to see that stuff. You don't want to get in conflict with people like this. And, you know, and it becomes evident basically that in this game they're not even by themselves. It becomes evident that you're being outran, that they're actually in a great touch contact with all other royals, and the whole thing was really designed in such a way that so that the whole world would rather hate me. Because I was guilty for everything bad that happened in this world because of these royals. British society, British people, they definitely don't profit from having these people at top of the state. I don't think so. I think that it makes them look really bad, shitty, and it makes them look in front of the world like, knowing what I know, you really can't to feel good about this. You go to work, you're polite, you try to help people. That's foremost how British are. Um, they like to associate, they like to try new things, um, they are open minded for a society, for exchange, for development, and so on. And shit, you just can't be really proud about something like this within the society, can you? I mean, you're doing your stuff to look as helpful as possible in this world, using a politeness, doing your best to make impression on whoever you interact with. This is basically this old British, uh, I would love to think, um, etiquette, the way, basically. And on the other hand, you had somebody who's taking advantage of this, basically posing publicly in uniforms, in crown, in jewelry himself, with all kinds of stuff, display, throws on display a luxury uh, beyond really needs, and he's just doing his circus, which is goes unfortunately into really, really deep and dark waters, taking basically exploiting people, as I stated, leaving people more often than not with destroyed health, robbed of lives, basically. People visiting food banks to get past, oftentimes seeking refuge under the bridges as homeless, decaying society, creating a morale that is destroying solidarity, progress, introducing into society a corruption, rather is cancerous to human relations, creating a barrier between people, classes, extravagantly demoting all values within the society, finding always a cure for politeness, undermining basically every value inside of the society, especially including laws. You know, that's where the problem comes. International treaties, even American Constitution, and other constitutions and laws, domestic and international treaties, values based upon which humanity is, so let's say, established, but leans on since the end of the World War II, every step of the way. These are the things that actually made me understand that my case was by far more than just about genuinity, sincerity, truthfulness, and all that other stuff that I presented you a little earlier. It was way, way, way more than that. And when I consider that, I said to myself, boy, not only I don't want to be part of this, I have absolutely nothing to do with it. But I said to myself, I said, you know, these people don't make bad, only British. Now they're out of the European Union. But there are others that are inside of the European Union. And it doesn't matter whether they're in or out. But these are the people that don't make only look bad. Whether it's Dutch or Danish or Norwegian, British, they make look bad everyone else too. When it comes to European Union, when it comes to NATO, they screw everyone up. This entire idea, which actually I have fought for throughout my entire life, they make that idea an ultimate enemy. I wouldn't say friend of the enemy as to whom they have connected themselves to 33 years ago, while making me more and more defiant against issues they preached historically against. You know, I never sided, as I stated, I never sided with the Milan Kucha, and I never sided with any of these people. I was not a Stalinist or anything like this. But boy, when you consider all this, who is a bigger enemy to you? If you ask yourself, who would you fear more? Would you fear a Stalin? Just hypothetically, let's say. Let's take Putin, let's say, whom you are enemy with, or would you rather to fear friend of your enemy that is willing to kill you for the sake of his values, for the sake of his agenda, I should say. In other words, if I translate to you, is willing to kill you to satisfy your enemy. Who is greater enemy to you in that case? When you consider this stuff, you see, it would be easy for me if it only would be about dog eat dog. If it only would be about sincerity, truthfulness, genuinity. And this is why I told you earlier. This is the video you all should pay attention to. I'm not a regular person. if the enemy would get past me, and there would be nobody in Britain or in Holland or in Germany or in United States of America that what they refer to as enemy that will not get past. Do you understand me what I'm saying? That's what the fuck this video is about. You asking yourself tomorrow, basically, when you go to work, when you go wherever the hell you go to school, where exactly in this world is your place? What is in it for you? That's basically what this video is. That's what this is about. And it doesn't matter. You don't have to live inside in there in Britain or wherever royal system is there. Because they undermine everybody. They undermine with their behavior, with their posture, with their attitude, with their criminal conduct. Absolutely everything. They claimed they exist for. These people don't exist for anything other than their interests. I have seen a lot of stuff that is just, I want to say, adultery, wise, you know. Um, but really, what hurts the most of all this stuff, what hurts the most is just that recently I've gone through also case with a princess that I asked myself because she was so loyal to her father and she was so devoted. And that's what happened with these devoted people, you know. When we get devoted, it becomes expected from us. It becomes expectation. You know, when you become totally devoted, they see this as it becomes expectation, basically, you know. Um, in other words, they consider that as a mental illness of some kind because you're no longer paying attention to your real you. In other words, whatever job is that you do, you absolutely should not devote yourself to one to the degree that you no longer would see yourself in one as a human being, is what I'm trying to say to you. Because they're going to see in you rather a potential to destroy you through that. It just basically goes straight into some kind of view that you are open to be basically exploited completely. You know, and the definition I already gave you what exactly that means. Yeah. So that's all I wanted to say about this video. This is just maybe something to think about this whole thing. I wanted you to know who I am because when I all started with these video recordings, I was nervous as hell. There's some video over there at Daily Motions, the first video I did. And I was like, yeah, here, I'm an American citizen, and here's my passport, and I'm Slovenian citizen, and this and that. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to go about it. I didn't know even what exactly, how do you do all this? How do you explain? What do you want to explain? What is it you want to do? You know, there is a reason why United States of America is a republic. There is a reason why France and the French people are extremely proud about it, is a republic. Unfortunately, the reasoning which a lot of nations which have kingdoms cannot even afford to reason, and many people that don't have, and just like myself, don't know anything about what the kingdom is, miss on a true understanding of what they have till it's actually gone. When it comes to that princess, I was like digging into my head into what was in it for her, because she was so diligent, because she was so devoted, and again devoted and dedicated. Dedicated is worse than devoted. That's like when you transport something, let's say as an example, and you become dedicated to a certain route, to a certain routine, you know, it's actually a trouble in many ways. It depends how you see it. It might be good, might be a good money in it for you, easy. It becomes easier because it's a routine. Just for some day to basically, uh, yeah, I'm not naive about this stuff. I don't think that she didn't know what was in it for her. I'm pretty damn sure that she knew very good, completely. It was total in agreement, everything about what was in it for her and them, and you know, basically not for her but for them, because that's what this is. You couldn't go and do any of it without you beating them, basically, when you consider this. But every one of us should understand basically what is in it for you, what is in it when you're doing something. And I'm not going to say before it gets too late, but for your own sake. You might not be the one, a princess, but you might be exactly the one who is screwed. Probably even more important for you to understand what is in it. Maybe a little bit philosophical, but this stuff was necessary. Maybe someday somebody's going to ask, who the hell was this guy? Like so many people did when it all started. Is this guy, what is he? Is stuff that I see, that I read in the media, in the papers. It's about uh, the leftists, the communists, and they hit back uh, with again with other issues, referring to somebody as either with a fascist, as a Nazi, and this and that, and so on and so forth. Then it becomes obvious based on experience that really, when you draw the line, there really was no difference between one and the other. In fact, that the two did not even have much common with whatever they represent themselves as, and even more so that the two work together. That it's actually a symbiosis that creates a society. I'm not going to go into better or worse, this is Eastern Europe. Eastern Europe still have a long way to go. There's still a lot of stuff to do. There's still a must for people to find themselves if they are to survive as a nations. This for the Eastern Europe needs its identity, needs its view, needs its agenda, needs its something. They would adhere to basically the stuff I have spoken about throughout this video without directly touching it. You know, it's not the communism and it's not the capitalism and it's not whatever that defines the fascism. Definitely Nazism defines you because it's about the hatred. Communism is in absolutely no way comparable, even though they like to compare one as National Socialism and blend that stuff in it. These are completely different values. Some values are based on equality, that's called as socialism, communism, or rather probably retardation, and others are based on completely other values. That's actually racial, ethnic, uh, profiling, and that kind of stuff. So those are two definitely different issues. Uh, it's those other values, yes, that's right, that defines you. That's why they are breaking a society in many of these countries, desperate so much apart. It's a big divide and conquer game that goes on. It's a lot of stuff that different groups within different global societies are trying to use to put their issues together so they could benefit from within, like the so-called whites. Those kind of issues bother me. A lot of issues like this, when in fact, uh, it's the people that are going to have to decide about this stuff, whether it's going to be, a doggy way, a doggy way, or it's going to be a uh, human interaction based on a relationship we're going to have within the European Union and NATO. Are we going to be like biting each other, like dodging each other? Because this is also not about the royals. That's what I was going to say entirely. It's also about other issues. It goes into other areas that it becomes evident, state is using or certain states are using to accomplish that other, as I suggested earlier, global agenda. So these are the challenges that you people are going to have to meet, whether you are whatever part of the European Union or in the United States of America, as a global citizens, so that you know we all can benefit the most from one another. But when it comes to the royalism, what can I say? Um, I definitely am not never going to be in a shadow of any of these people, like I was told it's going to be. That I'm going to be part of them, and I'll be in a shadow of these people and so on. This is just not going to happen. I, I, I do not recognize any kind of royals. Uh, I wouldn't recommend anybody to step in front of me and state to me that it's some form of king or prince or something like this because of the experience I had. Uh, and for me, business wise, it's actually good that uh, issues have gone as far as this because, you know, it was the state that allowed itself that type of privilege, that type of luxury, prestige. Yeah, so it's going to be the state we're going to settle the account with, whatever these people cause trouble with. I'd rather to see that than the private enterprise because it's more profitable, is what I'm trying to say. That's all I wanted to say for this video. It's already May 21st, 2023. Thanks for watching this video. Till next time.